Good morning, Nigeria. I like to say that TVC has a finger on the pulse and an eye on the streets. And here on the Trending Now segment, we do our best to bring you trending stories that are shaping the world that you and I live in. We begin today with some somber news, where the Federal Inland Revenue Service has confirmed the death of 4 of its staff members in Tuesday's deadly fire outbreak at Afriland Towers on Broad Street, Lagos Island. Now, the victims, Mrs. Ekelotse George, 58 years old, Mr. David Sunday Jato, 51 years old, Mrs. Nkem Oyemelukwe, 54 years old, and Mr. Peter Ifaramaye, 48 years old, were senior officers of the agency with years of service ranging from 9 to 32 years. They were working on the 6th and 7th floors, respectively, of the building when the fire broke out. The service's spokesperson, Dr. Dare Adekambi, has now described the incident as a devastating loss and extended his condolences to the bereaved families. Eyewitnesses say that the fire reportedly started in the inverter room at the basement before spreading to the upper floors, trapping several occupants in the process. Now, while some reports allege higher casualties, emergency agencies and the building owners have yet to provide clarification. But meanwhile, Afriland Properties chairman Tony Elumelu has cut short his trip to the UN General Assembly in New York. He's announced that all his companies will observe a minute of silence. They did that yesterday. This is very sad, and I thought it was important to mention their names. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Let's take a look at social media. This is a tweet from Tony Elumelu. He says, "The past few hours have been tough. We and others lost colleagues in the fire at Afriland Towers. And as a community, we are grieving for all and doing what we can to support their families and loved ones." He also says, "I also saw that the initial statement from the comms team at UBA Group, which was put out in haste without understanding the full gravity of what happened. This is regrettable. The statement does not reflect how deeply saddened we are. The loss of a life is painful, all the more so when it is family and friends. We are praying for all of the lives that were lost." And finally, Eze Uchenna Francis says, "I don't want to be disrespectful, but how is it possible that a large building like Afriland doesn't have an emergency exit?" Now, team, very quickly yesterday, we all watched in shock and horror as many people were trapped in that fire. We saw people escaping, and there were lots of questions about corporate responsibility in cases like this. Why were there not enough emergency exits? And do these tweets by Tony Elumelu do anything in terms of not justice, but a salve for what happened?
They say yesterday I said that when there's a fire outbreak, the fire itself affects the structure and the smoke affects the people in the structure. It's so unfortunate that 4 people had to lose their lives in this manner. In fairness to Tony Elumelu, I believe he's doing the thing he is supposed to do as the owner of Afriland Properties, and he has contacted the family, and from what you read here, it says there will be some kind of recognition of the passing of these 4. May their souls rest in perfect peace.
I have not much to say, but beyond recognition, let's also see what we can do for the families of, talk about the bereaved generally, the children, the wives, etc., who are dependent on these people. Because now they've gone, they died in the line of duty. Can always say, offer my condolences, to the families.
An unfortunate incident. Tear ducts, moments like this, that tear ducts actually get blown up. But while things like this are happening, we should look at all our buildings and see whether we are fireproof. It's unfortunate when these things happen, but it's also a moment for us to look at what we are doing to keep our buildings safe.
Yeah, for me, I think my condolences to the families of those who died in this unfortunate, tragic incident. But we must learn our lessons from this. One, even if the building has emergency exit, how often do we do fire drill, to ensure that people know where to go to and how to get out of a burning building? I think this should be made obligatory at least once in 3 months so that people can be well aware and accustomed to how to escape. Number 2, again, it raises another issue about how properly equipped is the National Emergency Management Authority. Do they have an helicopter station in each state for rescue in situations like this, particularly when it involves high-rise buildings. So we need to look more into health and safety.
Indeed, I couldn't have said it better myself. When I think about the fact that these people spent years of their lives in service to this organization, some people might have been waiting to get promotion, some people might have had pensions and retirement schemes in place. When you put it into context, it really does, invoke a lot of sadness. Moving on. The federal government has added Mandarin to Nigeria's secondary school curriculum, officially making Chinese one of its foreign language options for senior secondary school students nationwide. Now, according to the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, the move approved by the Ministry of Education is not compulsory, but it will sit alongside French and Arabic as choices that are available to students. Officials say that it's part of the efforts to broaden language learning while preparing young Nigerians with skills that could boost their global competitiveness. Now, the inclusion also reflects Nigeria's deepening ties with China in trade, technology, and infrastructure. Education authorities believe that giving students the option to study Mandarin isn't just about language, but about opening doors to cultural exchange and economic opportunity. Now, the reason why this is so controversial is because a lot of people online, the sentiment was that some people don't even have access to free education. Some students haven't even mastered basic English language. And here we are trying to teach them Chinese and Mandarin, but we have to remember that teaching them Chinese is cultural capital. China is increasingly a global world power. And so I think this is great. Let's take a look at social media. AJ Daniel says, Nigeria introducing Mandarin into the secondary school curriculum could open up more diplomatic, cultural, and economic ties with China. But let's hope we're also investing equally in our local languages and global tech skills. Good point. Ifeanyi Onua had this to say. He says, brilliant. Now students can say, oh, we are hungry in 2 languages while sitting in classrooms with no chairs, no teachers, no light. Instead of fixing education, we're importing syllables. Next, they'll teach Russian so students can complain about ASU strikes internationally. Team, that is a lot of vitriol coming from that man, but it is a double-edged sword, wouldn't you agree?
I'm just imagining students saying shisha or things like that, and you know the way Mandarin sounds. That it has been introduced, it's a little bit strange to me, but I can understand why the federal government is doing this. We need to deepen ties with China. We're already doing a whole lot of trade and exchange programs with them. So if our students will learn Mandarin, they'll have opportunities to go to China, and from the first day they get there, they hit the ground running.
Yes, it's a fantastic one, and I think we are doing the right thing in the country because if you look at all the countries that came together then in 1883, 1884, during the Berlin Conference under the King Leopold of Belgium, when they partitioned Africa, talk about the Spanish, the West, generally France, etc. They did more harm to us than any other country. So China was not part of those who colonized Africa, and we see that the power is now even moving to the east. So it is a beautiful one because that reminds me of what Larry Summers said in UK Parliament debate when he said, and then also re-echoed by an African writer, Ali Mosrui in Kenya, saying that every time China or the Chinese come visiting, we get hospitals, we get schools, we get roads, but each time the West come, what we get is lectures. So I believe it's a good one that we're doing in the country.
I don't know what to call this Mandarin thing. Just like thinking about adding margarine to my bread. I don't really know because are we swapping one imperialism for another imperialism? I understand the whole idea of the so-called globalization because I see globalization as domination by one power or the other because we don't really have much conversation in that regard, and now they're adding a new language to the conversation. I'm not against it actually because, if you want to be part of the world, you have to understand the language of the world. The other person who wrote about saying you are hungry in Chinese is looking at the cup half empty because you could also learn a lot from that language and get a job there and not feel hungry. So if you look at it half empty, well, you are keeping yourself out of the game. So it is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but I would really like the situation where you bring Ishakiri as one of the curriculums for everybody to learn.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I think When I first saw the Mandarin added to Nigerian secondary school curriculum, I thought, I remember the Mandarin Chinese restaurant, which I so much love in Soho, in London. And that was what first came to my mind. But when you actually look at the fact that we have a very Eurocentric syllabus, and now the whole world is changing, we are now working towards, the world is working towards a multipolar world. So therefore, there's a need to broaden, our communication beyond the Eurocentric ones which we inherited. So therefore, for me, I think it's even better if we offer Indian language or Russian also, add it to it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I love the fact that it's not compulsory, it's voluntary. And I would also feel that in addition to that, we should look at our local languages and make them compulsory. It shouldn't be just English language alone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tim. I leave you with a bow in Chinese culture. Moving on. In some good news, a 22-year-old inventor from Kano State, Ibrahim Bala, is currently capturing national attention with a life-saving innovation. Now, from Bichi local government area, Bala has designed what he calls the driver's anti-sleep alarm device, a pair of glasses that can detect when a driver's eyes stay shut for too long, instantly triggering an alarm to keep them alert. Now, this idea was born out of tragedy earlier this year when a group of young athletes from Kano unfortunately lost their lives in a crash that was linked to driver fatigue. Bala says that he was determined to create something that could help prevent such needless losses of lives on Nigerian roads. And since unveiling this prototype, his work has gone viral on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And many Nigerians are praising his ingenuity and calling for government and private sector support to mass produce this device. But for now, his innovation does stand as a powerful testament that necessity can drive invention and that young Nigerians are really giving local solutions to local problems. Good on you. Let's take a look at social media very quickly. Mr. Lai Ilorin says, this is truly inspiring. Nigeria is full of brilliant young innovators like him, and this is why government investment in research, innovation hubs, and startup funding is so important. If given the right support under the Renewed Hope agenda, solutions like this won't just save lives here at home, but can also be exported to the world. Innovation is the future, and our youths are ready. That's the only social media tweet I'll take. Tim, we don't have much time, but can we touch on this quickly? I think that this is a very timely invention. In recent weeks, we've been seeing that certain heavy-duty trucks have been, unfortunately, involved in a lot of accidents. Don't you think that this would be good to see more investment in this and for it to be mass-produced and for that prototype to be perfected?
Yes, when things like this come out, people are always saying government should do this, government should do that. I don't think government should do anything. I think the private sector should see a business opportunity and invest in this young man. The guy is wonderful. I need the private sector to invest and make money out of this.
Yeah, I think you're a capitalist. But one thing is, I think it's very right that the government ensure that there is a viable environment for people to thrive. This glasses is coming at a time when Meta, owners of Facebook, Instagram, etc., they're also launching their Ray-Ban glasses where, they are moving away from handsets to, your glasses being your phones. So it's a good one. So we need to ensure that these people thrive in this country rather than be taken out of the country.
We have to be careful that this man is still in this country. Because before you know it, the patent will not be a Nigerian patent. It will be an American patent. We have to be very, very fast in taking this thing and making it Nigerian and make sure that when it is manufactured in Nigeria where we can make billions, because this thing is going to catch fire. If it is as genuine as it is claimed to be, it's going to catch fire and it's going to bring a lot of money into the system. It could be the beginning of a new sort of technology because technology births technology.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I actually align with Sam's sentiment. If you take into consideration a Nigerian in the United States who develop a program, software on mental health therapeutic support, and he sold it for over $1 billion. I think about $1.5 billion. It's been bought. So in Boston, and rather than it being used here, we don't even have it in Nigeria to start with, where we really need those program support. So I think I agree with Sam. We should get this patented, and ensure that the poor boy is not exploited in any form, so that this can be mass-produced by our private companies in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Look at Silas Adekunle with his robotics game.
Yeah, amazing.
Catching fire all over the world.
That's
Amazing. Thank you so much for your input, team. I've got to move on now.